Hello, future educators. In today's lesson, we're going to be talking about counting back to subtract in first grade. As future educators, this is something that you will be teaching in math, but we're going to examine it under the lens of the flipped classroom model. So, just a little backdrop on the flipped classroom. With the flipped classroom model, we know that students are able to work and learn outside of the traditional brick and mortar classroom. So, the content that we want to focus on within this lesson will be what it means to count back, how to use counting back to solve subtraction problems, and how to use a number line to count back. Within the flipped classroom model, teachers are able to use a lot of video resources and other technological resources to help students learn material. So we're going to focus on using Google Classroom as our reference. Within Google Classroom, this is an example of the PowerPoint that you could upload to teach your students how to count back when subtracting. Students will need, in order for this to be a successful lesson, you want to make sure students have the devices that they need: dry erase markers, Wi-Fi, number lines, a smart board, Google Classroom. Because we are examining this under the lens of the flipped classroom, we will have some instruction within our traditional classroom. And then we will move into Google Classroom. Within Google Classroom, we can upload the PowerPoint that we referenced before, as well as other learning videos from YouTube, model lessons with you actually walking students through problems, and other references that students can always go back to, because we know that within Google Classroom, it will house the resources that the kids need to actually learn the information that you're presenting to them. So if you're wondering, how do I present this to my students? The biggest thing is to make sure your students have access to Google Classroom. Familiarize them with navigating Google Classroom and set your expectations. Although students are able to learn within the traditional classroom, when you send them off to learn and complete tasks on their own, you want to make sure all expectations are clear. Yes, Google Classroom is a great way to assign certain things to certain students, and we want to make sure that differentiation piece is there. But within the flipped classroom, every child has to know what is expected of them. If you are expecting them to learn and master the skill of counting back using subtraction, that needs to be clear before you send them off. The benefits of this will be that students can be front loaded with the information before they even come back to you. They can work at their own pace, and they can always refer back to the material in future lessons simply because you're housing it within the Google Classroom. However, you want to make sure that students are not hindered by these factors: the lack of devices at home, their resistance to change. They may not understand why they are having to learn how to subtract at home versus in class, or on their own versus with the teacher. So you have to make the expectations clear so that they don't resist this change in learning. And as future educators, that should be a task. That will be a task for you to learn, because most of us, we didn't learn in this flipped classroom model. But we want to all be open to change, because education is constantly changing. And then we also have the hindering force of limited parental support. So you want to make sure that students and parents are clear on what this flipped classroom model looks like, so that students are able to learn the task and simple skill of counting back to subtract. So within Google Classroom, you just want to make sure everything is loaded prior to your lesson. You want to make sure that nothing on your part stops students from learning. So, as you prepare to teach kids how to subtract, by using the skill of counting back. Keep in mind that using this flipped classroom model as an educator, it can work. You just have to make sure that prior to the lesson, you are familiar with the resources as well as the students. And your lesson will go off smooth. And that's all. If you want to refer back to this video, it could be up. You can find it on YouTube. You can find it within our class, Google Classroom, as well as your email for the links. Thank you.